This is Kat Sturtz from rockingyourpath.com, and we have one final speaker on this wonderful virtual summit day where we are exploring how I make working from home work from me. And we've had 5 speakers so far with different perspectives, different backgrounds, different services and products, different struggles, different solutions, and all of them of importance to us in rocking our unique paths to success. Right now, I'd love to introduce you to our speaker for the end of the day, wrapping us up. It's Dr. Donna Blevins, who is a mind shift expert. She's also known as the big girl of poker, and I'm going to let her explain just a little bit more about that because she does it so well. She will be sharing her exercise and her perspective and helpfulness, that's a good word, and how to use her 1040 rule, and also be sharing about the free resource that you'll be able to get. So, Donna, I'm going to change the spotlight over to you and give you the floor.
Well, thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here. You said to start and talk about me. I would much prefer talking about other people. But I'll say a little bit about me. A little bit. I'm 6 feet 5 inches tall. That's why they call me the big girl of poker, because I started in the poker industry in 1996 before I knew nothing about the card game, but I needed something that was entertainment. Now, we had our own real estate company. We're real estate brokers, and we were absolutely in a crisis of stress. And I discovered poker because I needed an outlet. And interestingly enough, poker saved my life. And I rarely start that out, but I want to say that because what I found at the poker table, I know it makes you laugh, doesn't it? What I found at the poker table was I'm in a hand, and I'm in my late 40s when I first discovered the game. I didn't know what beat what. And we would drive an hour to the Indian bingo hall out in the Everglades in Florida. Literally, that's where I started playing. And all the way out there, I would have to repeat what beat what. I would say 1 pair, 2 pair, 3 of a kind. And my husband listened to this for an hour going out there because I'm going, what beats what? And I first thought it was just all about the cards. Then I discovered, no, it was about other people. And then I discovered that most importantly, the game was about you. It was about yourself. It was about self-care. It was about centering yourself. And in the moment, that aha moment when I'm sitting in a hand and I'm worrying about what had happened with a contractor the day before because I was the management broker for the Department of Veterans Affairs in 5 counties in Southwest Florida. And I had to take custody of properties that the VA acquired because of the foreclosure process. Now, I was not a nice person. When I went into that, I was kind and nice. That was me. But when I went into the role of taking custody of properties and evicting people, it was just terrible. I was under so much stress. But I'm in this hand. I have cards in front of me. I'm looking down at my cards. And I'm looking at the cards and I'm thinking, oh, this contractor I was dealing with yesterday, it was such a jerk. I've got another one I'm going to deal with tomorrow. Oh, did I write the specifications correctly? And all this stuff, and all of a sudden it was almost like the universe took a rubber mallet and popped me on the head. And in that moment, I had this epiphany. And it was like I heard this voice that said, there's only one thing that exists, ever. It's the hand you're in. It's the card life deals you. The past cards are gone. The future cards are not yet here. It is in this moment. And it was that point of mindfulness. That's how poker saved my life, because I went to that point of mindfulness and realizing that in the middle of chaos, it was vital that I realize it's just coming back to the moment. Taking a breath and getting at that point of mindfulness. And it was life-saving for me. If it hadn't been for poker, I'd probably be dead today from stress. And I want to ask you that's listening live or on recording, what stresses you? And think about that, and think about how you can actually shift away from that rather than continually amplifying it. We amplify all the time on social media. Somebody's sick, they say, oh, I feel so bad, I hurt. Well, I understand, but when you do that and you focus on it, and other people, even though they're giving you sympathy, what they're doing is they're actually magnifying that hurt. What we need to do is we need to find the blessings within whatever we're doing, regardless of the situation, and go to that place. So that's why I'm the big girl of poker, because when I sit down at the poker table, I'd go over the table and they'd say, who's that big girl? So that's where that was.
Well, before you get into the rest of your presentation, I want people to understand you didn't stop or limit your poker playing to the Florida Everglades bingo hall. Tell them how far you went with poker.
Well, in 2007, thank you for bringing that up. In 2007, I competed in my third $10,000 buy-in tournament. It was at the World Series of Poker Main Event Championship. I had earned my way in to those tournaments. I played in what's called satellites, where you buy in for a smaller number and you win your way into the bigger tournament. But I competed in 2007. I competed in the World Series of Poker Main Event Championship. I competed against 6,400 players, and I finished as the top fourth woman.
That's pretty awesome. All right. Well, we're not here to talk about poker specifically, but you also work from home. And just like every other speaker we've had today, and myself and all of the attendees, we all have our own backgrounds, our own experiences, our own home environments that we operate within. So I'd like you, as part of your presentation, to give us a little insight into what that home environment is for you and how you make working from home work for you.
Thank you, because that's all, that's what I do, is how to figure out how to find the space. I'm a caregiver for my mother. She's 93. God bless her. She is my rock. Even at 93, she is still far more active than a lot of 50-year-old people that I know. Even though mother had a fall and 2 falls and 2 concussions and 2 broken ribs 18 months ago, she's still up on her feet. And mother says that if you want to stay above the grass, you need to get your butt up. And that's one of the things that she's taught me, is that when I sit here in this chair in front of my computer, now I created an environment. What I did was create an environment that was my office, but it was also my retreat. Interestingly enough, this small room in our home is on the blueprints. It was actually called the retreat off of the master bedroom. And I thought, that's exactly what I want. I want my retreat. And it can be small, but you need to make it your own. And I think that's one of the most important parts of having a home-based business working out of your home, is to have your space and make it yours. If you look behind me, I mean, that's the things that are on the shelves behind me are very much, it's things that I love. And I have had 3 monitors. Now I have 2 monitors, a big flat screen TV. And I think that's really important, is that if you can set it up yourself where you have multiple monitors, that's really important being home-based. And it's inexpensive today, because you can get monitors very inexpensively. But I think that's really important, to create that space. I'm also a caregiver for my husband, who's 100% service-connected disabled combat veteran. And to be a caregiver for 2 people, that can be stressful. But when I realized that I was avoiding taking care of myself, my business struggled, because I wasn't spending enough time on myself to be able to spend enough time on my business. But how can I do that? I've got all these things to juggle. It was about creating time when it was good for me to sit here, and I would work it out with Mom and my husband. What's good for you? And fortunately, 2 hours, 5 days a week, we have a home healthcare aide come in with my husband, And there's things that it's a good time for me. She comes in between 9 and 11 in the morning, Monday through Friday, and that's really good for me. Because I've been able to get Mother up and get her, but make sure her pills are done. And but what I found was that I had to take time for myself. But my goodness, I didn't have time enough to do a standard meditation in the morning. I mean, if I sit down and do a half-hour meditation, I'm gonna be interrupted. And that's when I actually created the 10-40 rule, because I did that with my coaching clients, gosh, starting 15 years ago, because I wanted them to take at least 10 minutes for themselves to go through a mind shifting process, because it's really important that we do something repeatedly. And I said, 10 minutes a day, set an alarm every single day. It's not just 5 days a week, it's every single day. Do you deserve 10 minutes a day? Face it, are you worth 10 minutes a day? I want you to really embrace that, because you are valuable. You're far more valuable than you ever realized. But let me tell you what, you have to take care of you first. And that's where the 10-40 rule came in, because it takes about 40 days before we create a habit. And I wanted to create the habit of doing a mind shifting exercise. And so I would practice that. And that's where the 10-40 rule came from.
I love that. I want to read, for the benefit of the people getting this as a replay and don't have access to the chat like those attending live have. I believe your mom, Peggy, said this: if you want to stay above the grass, you have to get your butt up.
That's Mama.
That's Mama Peggy. That's absolutely right. So for those who are here live, remember, you can put your email into a private chat for me, and I'll add you to the email list to make sure that you get the resource links for all of the speakers today. If you are watching this as the replay, you don't need to do that because you gave me your email already. You're going to all want Donna's free resource, just like you're going to want the ones from our other 5 speakers, because she's going to have another one of her exercises, her mind shift exercises, that you'll be able to pick up. I'll put that link in a little bit. But Donna, go into more about the 10-40 rule and how we can use that, especially to help us, those of us who work from home.
Excellent. One of the things that I had discovered was that with meditation, and meditation is great, but then it's just the timing problem. And I wanted to do something that, what I discovered with mind shifting is that we need to add more physicality to it. That means more movement. I think that's one of the reasons yoga works for a lot of people, because you're actually moving your body. And what I discovered when you're doing some mind shifting work is to add subtle physical motions. And what that does is it activates other parts of your brain. The more parts of your brain you engage during this 10 minutes, the more likely you are to stay in that place. And what I suggested in a 10-minute period is first start out and you write down 3 things that you are grateful for. And they have not secured the babies. I do apologize, but we got 4 here.
Those would be fur babies. And we deal with this when you work from home. You don't usually have this problem if you work outside, unless you work at a doggy shop.
That's exactly right. And I had asked that they be secured, and of course, because they have their little pen and they live in the kitchen where they sit with Mama Peggy, their beds, but she decided to take them for a walk, and that's just fine. She wanted to get up. Okay. So what you do is, in your 10 minutes, and I actually, in the past, I had created a 1 sheet, and I need to get that together. And what I'll do is, when people opt in for the 4-minute audio of a mind shift exercise on mindshiftonDemand.com, when you get that, just reply back to me and say, send, 10-40 sheet. Send me the 10-40 sheet, and I'll have a 1 sheet, and I'll get that on my Google Drive so you can download it. And So what you want to do is you want to start out first with 3 things that you're grateful for. And you go, well, a lot of people talk about doing gratitude journals. Let me tell you the point of that is that when we start out with gratitude, it changes the frequency of our brain. Even when we're upset or sad or depressed or frustrated or, we're overwhelmed, when we change that frequency to gratitude, even if we don't feel the gratitude that much, if we write it down, and I'm saying I want you to write it down. I want you to get a little book, a little, I use the really small ones. I'll have an 8.5 by 11 download that you can do. And if you want to print those out and do it, that's wonderful. In fact, I like doing it that way too, because then I put a 3-hole punch and I keep it in a 3-ring binder. I love 3-ring binders. I'm just crazy for 3-ring binders. But these are great. I take these with me when I travel and I keep one in my bag. But you want to put this in your hand. You want to do it pen in hand rather than tapping on your computer or on your phone, because this actually brings you to the moment. The sheer point of writing it down brings you back to the mindfulness. And when you've got to pick up the book, got to write a little bit, you're thinking about writing, think, how do I write that? You're involved with thinking about what that is. That has now redirected your attention to the mindfulness point. So just sitting down and writing down 3 things that you're grateful for to begin with is astonishing. Then practice a mind shift exercise. There's 12 of them in my book, Mind Shift on Demand. But just practice one of them. The one that is the 4-minute audio is my signature mind shift exercise called, isn't that interesting? And it's fast to do, but what's happened, where the 10-40 rule came from, is that once you practice a mind shift exercise for at least 40 times, 40 days, repeatedly, and over a short period of time, short time frame, at the same time, you in essence rewire your neural pathways. Our brain has the neuroplasticity of the brain is real. I mean, I had no idea that this process of rewiring your brain was something that we could do. When I had my massive center left brain stroke Halloween of 2013, and I could speak in 3 days when they said it would take 8 to 9 months to speak, and I was doing this mind shift exercise, isn't that interesting? I was doing it for probably 100 times in 3 days. And when my husband said, please talk to his shrink, and I said, whoa, why do I need to talk to your shrink? What's wrong? He said, no. He said, I want you to tell him what you did. And it was the shrink who said, you were rewiring your neural pathways. He was the one that gave me those words. And I said, I don't understand that. And he said, what you were doing is you were training your brain to literally go around the blood clot in your brain to find the words that you were missing. And I said, what? He said that the part of your brain that had that big clot was the part that controls your ability to speak. Your words were in there, but you had them some other places, and your brain was saying, where are those words? Where are those words? You trained your brain how to do that by going through this process, and within 3 days, your brain could then go about doing it itself. And I said, I don't understand. You can train your brain to do something, and then you don't have to do all the steps. So if you do a mind shift exercise for 40 days, 10 minutes a day, same time, then like isn't that interesting? Something happens, you could go, And what happens is your brain can then step through all those 7 steps like that at the snap of a finger, and you can shift to that place of being way better than you were in a heartbeat. And it's astonishing. I had no idea that the process could be this profound. For that, I am very grateful.
So we have people here with us live. Take us through that exercise. We have time to do that. Can you do that?
Absolutely. So what I'd like for you to do, I'd like for you to, like I'm doing, I'm sitting up straight. I'd like for you to put your feet flat on the floor. I'd like for you to let your arms get relaxed. Put your hands in your lap. And I'm going to close my eyes with you. Close your eyes, and I want you to take 3 deep breaths. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. And when you exhale this time, I want you to drop your shoulders. That's it. Drop your shoulders. Inhale through your nose. And exhale. And drop your shoulders some more. And that 3 breath literally brings you back to the moment. What I'm going to ask you to do right now is I'm going to ask you to bring up something that is uncomfortable. Now, we have all kinds of experiences, and we want to think about the things that are positive. However, I'm going to create a safe place for you here right now, a safe place that is guilt-free, blame-free, and judgment-free. This safe place for you right now, you're in it. I've created a bubble all around you at this moment. Be in that safety. And I'm asking you to bring up a situation that is dark, that is awful, that you've dealt with. You may be saying, oh, I don't have anything like that. I want you to pull it down, because we have that darkness that we have suppressed, and I want to have you experience the benefit of reframing that and literally shifting the frequency of it in only a few minutes. So bring that situation to mind, and I'm going to look up at the gallery, and if I see some faces here. What I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to nod your head when you have brought a situation to mind that is dark, that is very uncomfortable on the discomfort scale. Okay, I'm seeing the nods. All right. Now what I'd like for you on this discomfort scale, I'd like for you to rate it. Give me a rating it between 1 is virtually non-existent, 10 is the most horrible, and I'd like for you to rate it. It's no need for you to tell me what that number is. We'll talk about it afterwards. But I want you to take that number. Do you have the number in your head? Just go ahead and nod your head when you do. Okay. Just put that over to the side. Now, in this moment, what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to notice this situation. And the first step is to forgive yourself for being there. Forgive yourself for having this experience. Forgive yourself for having this discomfort. And the process that I go through now is a bit more lengthy on a personal level, because I go through I forgive you, Donna, and I use my name. And say that to yourself quietly. I forgive you. And just look at the situation and say, I understand, and use your name. I would say, I understand, Donna. And just be in that situation. Say, I do love you. Say your name. And then say, thank you. And that process can help to reframe that as well, because forgiveness, self-forgiveness is the key to most mind shifting into love on ourselves. Now, what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to ask it to show itself. In your mind's eye, ask it to take a 3-dimensional form. And sometimes it's a little challenging. It could be a person, it could be a graphic, it could be a 3-dimensional figure, it could be a square, it could be a triangle, it could be a situation, that could be a car, it could be a house. If you're having any difficulty with it showing itself in your mind's eye and taking a 3-dimensional form, give it a name. Go ahead and name it right now. And if you've had any difficulty seeing it in your mind's eye, just go ahead and give it that name, and then look at that word in your mind's eye. Now, I'm going to look up. If you see it in your mind's eye, go ahead and give me a nod. It's taken a 3-dimensional form. Okay? Okay, good. Good. Now, what's happened is this. Now that it is within your mind's eye in a 3-dimensional form, it has boundaries. It is no longer out there and all around you. It is now finite. Right here, finite in this moment. Now, think about that. This thing that has been overwhelming to you is now finite in your mind's eye. And in this moment, as you're looking at it, it literally starts to dim. I'd like for you to step back one step in your mind's eye and look at it and say, isn't that interesting? And when you're by yourself and you can say that out loud, do that with great feeling. Isn't that interesting? It might evolve into, isn't that unusual? What happens in that moment when you step back and you notice it? You become the observer. You are no longer out there and within it and fueling it. You have now become detached. You are detached. You are no longer fueling it. You are no longer energizing it. And as you step back, it begins to move away from you even more and move away from you. And it begins to dim. Step back one more step and say, isn't that interesting? And as you do, it goes further and further away. It's getting closer to the horizon and it's smaller. Look at that. It's getting smaller. Step back one more step. Take a breath and let your shoulders just relax and say, wow, isn't that interesting? And there it is, almost over the horizon. Wow. Now what I'd like for you to do is open your eyes, look up to me, come back to me. Now, look up and to your right. Pivot your body 45 degrees to the right and continue looking up. What you're doing is you're accessing the right hemisphere of your brain, which is your creative part. Continue looking up and ask yourself, where would I rather be? Ask that to yourself. Where would I rather be? Now come back to me. Now what's happened, it's unnecessary for you to answer that because you have given your subconscious mind a question that it can answer. And as it answers, it's actually rewriting your software. It's a code modifier. When you ask a properly crafted question, you download that to your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind goes about answering it. Your subconscious mind is never asleep. It is always on. Now, I'd like for you to share with me in the chat, share with me what your starting number was, rate it now, and what your number is now, your discomfort number is now. I'm going to look over at the chat. Yes, please put your before and after number, please. Your before and after number. Got starting at a 7, after a 3. Fantastic. A 9 to a 1. Now think about that. Think about taking something from that discomfort level of a 9 to a 1. Now we took about 8 minutes to talk through that because I wanted to give you details of how to do that, but it is absolutely astonishing. Anyone else like to share their numbers? I'd appreciate it. Kat, how did you like that?
I love it. You've taken me through it before, though, so I kind of knew what to expect. I just went a different way. I can give you an example of another one another number that came through privately. So it was like a 9 to a 5.
That's fantastic. Just think about that, cutting it in half in that shortest period of time.
So talk a little bit about what we are cutting down. I mean, how do we interpret the shift we've made? I know what it feels like to me because it makes me feel lighter, like the problem that it was is more solvable. I can see better a possible paths to solutions to it that, either were muddied in the past or didn't see any solution to it. So you've done this with hundreds of people. Share with us some of the things that people experience making that shift. And
well, let's talk. Go ahead.
oh, I was just laughing because I got another private message. It was like some of our people are, it's like wee hours in the morning and they kind of got sleepy. So they want to redo the exercise when they're more awake. And you're going to be able to do that because
Well,
Donna's free resource
go
will
ahead.
take you step by step through this.
Yeah, and the free resource, by the way, on that one, that was, I did it really fast because I wanted to be in the 4 minutes. There's, I want you to be sure to do the before and after rating. I have, I need to find one to put up with that, but in that audio, I have not said to rate it before and after. And all of a sudden I realized you have to rate it. If you don't rate it, you don't have anything that's quantifiable. And in relationship to the rating, you said, how does it feel? I've worked with people that have pain. I mean, when the book first came out, Mind Shift on Demand 2 years ago, I took one to my husband's primary care physician at the VA hospital in Tampa, and I was going to give it to her. And the nurse saw the book. She grabbed it from my hand. She took my wrist and she dragged me down a hall, literally down a hall. And she said, you have to talk to the chief of the pain clinic. He's here on this floor. And I said, okay, fine. And she said, tell him about this. And I said, well, okay. And he said, what's it about? And I just did a really fast thing. And he said, well, do you think it would work with people with chronic pain? And I said, I have no evidence of that. And he said, would you please come and do a session for our chronic pain clinic? We have a clinic, a workshop, every week on Tuesday. And I said, sure, how long would you like that to be? And he said 15 minutes. And I said, oh, I'm not sure what I can teach in 15 minutes, but that's okay. And what I did was there were about 13 or 14 people there. And by the way, my husband, I said, we needed to do something that was fun. So my husband went with me. And I said, I want to let you know I am 6'5", which you can see. And I brought my husband up and he's 5'3". And I said that one of the reasons I did that is because I wanted to have some comedy. Because, excuse me, when we use a little bit of comedy, if you can find something you can laugh at, it can open up your mind and your body. And so when I did that with the people with the chronic pain, I asked them to rate it, bring up that pain. And I had 2 people that literally jumped up from their chairs after we stepped through this same mind shift exercise. And they said they went from a 9 to a 2 in that period of time, and they were on opioids. They had never experienced this type of physical pain relief. So it can actually affect us on a physical level because we have a mind-body-spirit connection that is real. I had proof. I mean, I asked for proof that my mind shift exercises work before the book was going to be published, and that's when I had my stroke. I guess the universe said, okay, you want proof? Here. Let's see if we can give you something you can shift away from.
Well,
and when I had the proof in 3 days. So.
Let me interrupt you just a second here. Well, those who are here, think about any questions they have for you or anything they'd like to share about their experience. I'd like you to take a few minutes and talk a little bit more about that stroke experience that you had, because it's very powerful. And I know you touched on it briefly earlier, but it really lays the groundwork for how you came to develop this all and had proof that it is so helpful. So we've got time for you to do that.
Thank you. I've actually been doing the mind shift exercises for close to 5 decades. I just hadn't crafted them in a way that were simplified so that I could explain them on simple terms without just kind of doing them. And it was you can thank my poker coaching clients, by the way, for getting me to put them down into simple steps, because my verb is simplify. That's like who I am. And what happened with the stroke was I kept, rather than focusing on the stroke, every time they would say she, it will take her, I'm sitting there. I mean, I'm laying there on the gurney, and they'd say, it'll take her 8 to 9 months before she can possibly speak. She'll be garbled probably for the rest of her lifetime. And I had this internal remote control, kind of like the one here, it's like they would say that and I'd go cancel. I'm doing a mind shifting exercise literally. When you hear words, if you literally cancel them rather than own them. When somebody says something, you can either choose to accept that as what you want to believe or just simply to cancel them. This is the key to it, is that our subconscious mind is a perfect recorder. It records everything and it takes everything as reality because there are no filters, literally no filters in our subconscious mind. So what we feed it, it takes as reality. So the mind shifting has to do with reframing, and rather than buy into the stroke and owning it. I went through a process of this mind shift exercise of, shifting away from it. I would start to be afraid. I go, well, let's do a mind shift on that. And then I started looking for my words because I'm going, wow, where are the words? Because I would go, here, I'll write them down. So I grabbed a pen from the pocket of one of the healthcare providers, and I grabbed a piece of paper and I said, here, they asked me a question. I said, I'll write it down. And that's what it looked like. I mean, it looked like squiggles. And I'm looking at this, and by the way, I can only say 2 words. I could say Donna, and I could say crap. That was my other word. And what was happening is we're cross-wired, so I'm right-handed, and so my ability to control, I couldn't write. My right side of my face was, had aphasia, and I was, when I tried to walk, I was kind of stumbling with my right foot. And so what I did was I started looking for the words. And I said, well, how am I going to say the words? And so I went to my quiet place because that's where I was, in my quiet place. And I spent the next 2.5 days in that quiet place asking myself, where are my words? And I got quiet and I closed my eyes, and the first thing I saw was this room, huge room, with 4-drawer filing cabinets on both sides of the room, and all the drawers were open, like this 4-drawer filing cabinet to the right. They were just, all of them were open, and all the file folders were out on the floor. Now think about that. You take walls of 4-drawer filing cabinet and put all the files on the floor, and I thought, what's going on here? And I backed out of the room and I looked up, and it said word file room. And I thought, well, every word has a file, huh? Okay. So in my mind, because I couldn't write it down, in my mind I said, if I'm going to learn a foreign language, because at that moment, this was my foreign language, I wanted to find the words. So I said, if I'm going to go to this country, what would be the words that I want? So I wrote down a list in my mind, about 100 words. I said, what's the first word? It's hello. So I said, okay, in my mind's eye, I closed my eyes, and I'm like, I'm moving my hands like I'm moving here with you. And I'm like, let's go through these file folders. And I'd pick up a file folder, and I did that like I was picking it up. And the healthcare providers would come in and they would think that I was absolutely Looney Tunes, because I drank water, because I knew that our brain needed a lot of water. We need huge amounts of water to heal. And so I'd be drinking water. I go, oh. And about every hour I would call them, and I would hold up the pitcher that was empty, and they would roll their eyes, and they thought I was pouring it down the drain, I guess. And it was, I'm looking for the hello. And when I found the file, I picked it up, and my mind's eye, I've got my eyes closed, and I'm imagining this, and I had this file folder, hello. I open it up, and it's like one of those child's books. You open it up and the words pop up. And it said hello. And I said, well, I saw the hello, and I went, well, there's hello, the hello file. That's kind of fun. I said, what does it sound like? And when I asked that, there was a button that appeared on the upper right-hand corner of the file folder. So I pressed the button, and the sound came out, hello. It was my voice. I went, oh, that's what I sound like. Hello. I said, do I say it another way? And another button happened here on the bottom right. I pushed that and it went, hello. Oh, okay, I do say it differently. I said, well, how else do I say it? I pushed another one and it was, hello. I said, oh, well, I can say that too. And it is true. Water is an electrical conduit in our body as well, because everything is energy, and we are an electric circuit. We continually, everything that is electricity in our body.
Let me share something that came as a private message to me, and I know that some of our attendees are logging in from South Korea today, and they're learning the language. They're Americans over there. And when you were talking about your file cabinet of words, she said, I need to do this with Korean, the file room for Korean. And then do let us know how that works for you. Because yes, I could see that working. I could see that helping anybody who's trying to learn a foreign language, especially if you're an adult and not just organically absorbing it as a child might be.
Oh, I love that. I had never considered the possibility of using the concept of doing this mind shifting to do that, but I can see that working. And when I want to learn, I was in a time when I was around people that spoke Spanish a lot, and my intention was to learn one word of Spanish a day. And so I'd meet somebody that was obviously bilingual, and I would ask them to teach me a word in Spanish. In Spanish, I would ask them, and I mislaid that. I'll have to go find that file, by the way. And if I had done that, if I had said, okay, I'm going to go put that in my file room, and taken a moment and visualize that in its own file folder, then see what it looked like. Because what I do when I learn a word is we're three types of learners, and we have all of it in our bodies. We're visual learners, auditory learners, or kinesthetic learners. But when you take something, like I said, when you want to write it down, you're taking the kinesthetic learning process into it, and that helps to anchor it. Because if we're trying to learn something and we're visual learners, we'll remember about 40% of it. And if we're auditory learners, we'll remember about 30% of it. If we're kinesthetic learners, we will learn a lot more of that. It might be as much as 60%, but if we put all three of them in, then in the process, we will actually remember what we're attempting to remember about 90% of the time. So taking all three of those, visual, that's what flashcards are good for, by the way. You make a flashcard and learn that word, and then write it down, tone it out, because you've got visual, auditory, toning, and writing it down kinesthetic. So that's my take on that. A good idea. Thanks.
Well, we wait to see if there are any more comments. Some people are choosing to comment privately and then giving me permission to mention that. Since we are focused today on how we make working from home work for us, could you give us any other examples of applying what you've shared with us to our home environments, our working environments, with maybe an example or two?
Let's see, what's the best to share? I think probably one of the best ways has to do with literally taking that one intentional breath. You may think, well, that's so simple. But in the middle of starting to argue with Mother or Mama Peggy or my husband, if I take one intentional breath, it helps me come to the moment and to release it. And that really helps in relationship to that. I also think doing the 10 minute a day 10 and 40 rule. 10 minutes a day, 40 days. Now, when I say 10-40, rather than saying stop it after 40 days, what's going to happen is after 40 days, you will have created the habit of doing the 10 minutes a day. And that's when the process is. And Tina said, flashcards don't work for me, but I think the file cabinet would. Yeah, take it however you want to. And that is cool. And I love this. Thank you for being you and for all you teach. Your energy is so positive. Thank you. It's like a visual and auditorial smile. Thank you so much for that. I love that. I'm so thankful we're connected and touch so many different levels in a new and timely way. And one of the things that I want to share with you right now is that we are virtually connected. We are energetically connected, whether you are here live or you're listening to this on replay. When you hear my voice, I want you to know that I am energetically with you. And remind me just before we leave, Kat, to do my final sign off, the ways that I had started to do that people really respond to. So just remind me to do that. So what else might I use at home? It has to do with taking that 10 minutes and putting that in my calendar. I use Google Calendars now, and I put that in my calendar. It's on my calendar every single day. And I have it set up so that it gets me reminders to go do my 10-40 rule. And I continue to do that. And when you're doing it, by the way, if you're going to count to 40, if you're going to do it for 40 days, what you want to do is say, okay, I'm on day 3. And let's say you get to day 8 and you miss day 9. Forgive yourself for doing that. Go ahead on day 9. Day 10, go ahead and do day 9. But if you get to day 10 and you've missed 2 days, do yourself a favor, start back at the count of 1. And you're going to go, what? I got to start over? This is going to be a lifetime, folks. It's lifetime and exciting. And Sheila says, what is my PhD? Well, when at the age of 58, I decided to go back to graduate school. And since the age of 58, I was in school for 7 years, and I got a master's in metaphysics. I got a master's in performance spiritual psychology, and my PhD is in metaphysical coaching. And it's just a science of the mind, because I had been wanting to understand the mind since I was a child. Because, and I don't know if I shared this with you, I may have, Kat. When I was 6 years old, I had tuberculosis. Had I mentioned that before? I had tuberculosis.
Not sure about that one.
Well, and you're going, what? Something else? I had tuberculosis, and they went in to do a biopsy. And by the way, did you know the scientists say anyone who has tuberculosis likely has stunted growth? So,
well, there goes that theory.
Yeah. Well, maybe it is stunted. Who knows? I'm blessed. So anyway, I had tuberculosis, and they went in for a biopsy. And in those days, it was, they couldn't do the orthoscopic things. They didn't have those. This was 1955, and you can do the math and figure out how old I am. 1955. Yes, I'm 70, and I love being 70, by the way. I think 70 is the new sexy. So, you can use that for whatever you want. I love being me, and I love what I've been doing. And so they went in to do the biopsy, and my heart stopped. My heart stopped for 6 minutes, and when your heart stops for more than 4 minutes, you have brain damage. And I was in the light. And people say you had a near-death experience, and it wasn't I wasn't near anything. I was there, but it was light. It was in the light, and I was completely aware. I was no longer 6, and it was like I was plugged into the universal library in the sky. It's like, here's your plug, and there wasn't an entity there. It was just light, and it was joy, and it was pure, utter joy. And when I was nudged back, it was almost like I was looking down at the shell where my spirit had been, and I thought, this is very odd. I said, just let it go. And it was almost like I get a boot back into the body. And when I woke up, I was aware. I was no longer 6, and I was afraid to speak, because if I had shared where I had been in those days in 1955, I would have been put in a mental state hospital. And I was afraid to do that. In fact, I didn't speak for 2 weeks because I was afraid to talk. And then I said, well, I better talk because everybody is concerned. And so 2 weeks later, I said, what's for supper? Just said, what's for supper? And then I never shared that with anyone until I was 16. But it's interesting because I was completely aware, and it wasn't like I was universal age, but I knew things. And I guess I started mind shifting when I was 6.
Yeah, I can.
So I guess I've been mind shifting.
I can understand that, having had a brain clot that put me into a coma, and it came on the heels of delivering my first child, who weighed almost 10.5, and I weighed 117 at the time, and I ruptured, and they couldn't control the bleeding. So I literally bled out, and they medically revived me 3 times. And then I was in a coma for a while, came to on my birthday. So I don't have that. I have parts of that because I remember being aware of things going around before I was actually out of the coma, medically out of the coma. Have an odd blood type, so finding enough blood just to give me was a struggle. But it's amazing the depth of experiences all of us have. And there are some that haven't had experiences like we've had at the level we've had them, but what happens in their own lives has been deeply felt by them. So never discount your personal experiences. Don't judge yourself because they weren't the same as someone else's, or dismiss yours as not being important to you, All right. I'm going to remind you that you are going to do your sign off. And then once you do that, I am going to do a proper close for this session. We will keep the room open for probably about 15 minutes afterwards if anybody wants to stick around. Some of our people have been here since the very beginning, and we appreciate that. Make sure you tell all your friends and relatives if you got value from this. I don't think you would have stuck around if we'd been really boring and with nothing to share. Look for those emails from us. Make sure you take advantage of those free resources, and come back for the replay. This has been a wonderful day. All right, so Dr. Donna Blevins, what is your sign off?
It's really, really simple. And I used to do this before we had the advantage of doing it video. I love Zoom, by the way. It's so wonderful to do that. And what I want you to do is I want you to take your 2 hands. Okay, first of all, I want you to shake your hands like this. Okay, just shake it up. I'm going to do 2 things. First of all, I want you to put your right hand on your heart. Put your right hand on your heart. Take your left hand and take a hold of your right elbow. Pull your right elbow towards the center of your body and let your right hand go up over your shoulder. Let your right hand go up over your shoulder. Over your shoulder. Let it go. Now, when it's up over your shoulder, I want you to go, atta boy, atta girl, I'm proud of you for being here. Okay, that feels good. And now what I want you to take your hands again. We're almost finished. Take your hands again. Shake them out. Shake them out. Take your right hand, put it on your right arm. Your left hand, where am I going? Right hand, left arm, left hand, right arm like this. Okay, take a hold of yourself and squeeze yourself real good. That is me giving you a virtual hug. That is me right now. I am hugging you. Take it away, Kat.
That was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. Like I said, everyone that's been here. We still have 3 of our speakers in the room, so that's awesome. Thank you. Every one of them was awesome. learned something from everyone. Thank you, attendees who were here with us live. You lent so much to the discussion with your feedback and with your questions and the sharing that you did. And Tina is shaking hands, reminds me of clapping in sign language. Yeah, actually, yeah. And I'm
and that's actually where it came from.
Throwing kisses at everyone. All right, I am going to let you say a final goodbye, and then I'm going to take the spotlight back. Miss Donna, say goodbye.
Thank you. I'm Donna Blevins, and you can find me on Facebook.com/Big Girl Poker. That's my brand, so I might as well brand it throughout all of them. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Big Girl Poker is my YouTube channel, and on Twitter @Big Girl Poker. And go to mindshiftonDemand.com and grab the 4-minute audio of the Mindshift exercise I've shared with you. And remember to stay above the grass. Get your butt up. You deserve it.
Compliments of the wisdom of Mama Peggy.
That's right.
All right. Don't forget, we'll put links to all of the free resources in the email that you will get. Oh my goodness, what a wonderful day we've had. And this is Kat Sturtz closing this wonderful virtual summit. We will have more, but this one has been insightful into how we make working from home work for us. And I want to remind you, like I always do, to keep rocking your unique path to success. Bye-bye.